Golden, cheesy, and straight out of a small town Southern legend. This isn't just comfort food, it's a legacy in a casserole dish. Southern food is all about comfort. It takes humble, simple ingredients and turns them into something that brings people together. Today we're making a classic, squash casserole, straight out of Pansy's collection, a cookbook from Pansy's restaurant in Louisville, Georgia. If you grew up in the South, you probably had some version of this dish at a family gathering, a church potluck, or a holiday dinner. It's a staple of Southern cuisine, a way to use up summer squash when it's overflowing in the gardens. Like all good Southern casseroles, it takes simple ingredients that come together in the oven to form something greater than the sum of its parts. This version comes from a special place, Pansy's restaurant, a beloved spot inside the historic Jefferson Hotel in Louisville, Georgia. Back in the 90s, I often traveled to Louisville for work, and it seemed like every day I ended up at Pansy's for lunch. She more than earned the sale of this cookbook, and every bite was worth it. Pansy passed in 2013, but her legacy lives on as a new iteration of Pansy's restaurant still operates in the same spot. Pansy Agerton ran the restaurant for over a decade when she published this cookbook, but the recipes she collected go back about 40 years. She describes them as tried but true, meant to be simple and easy for home cooks. For example, in this recipe, she says that squash take more salt to season than any other vegetable, so later on we'll be sure to add more than I might usually do. She even took the time to thank her family and friends for sharing their recipes with her, because that's what Southern food is about: passing down knowledge, adapting recipes over time, and keeping these traditional foods alive. Now let's talk about the dish itself. There's just a handful of ingredients listed: 3 or 4 pounds of yellow squash, a large onion, 2 eggs, a stack of saltine crackers, some milk, grated cheese, and a little margarine. Squash casserole is a dish of resourcefulness. It was born out of abundance. When summer squash is in season, you end up with a lot more than you know what to do with. And what do Southerners do when they have too much of something? They turn it into a casserole. The first step is to cook down the sliced squash and chopped onion. Now, she called for 1 large onion. Mine were on the small side, so I've got 2 here. We're not looking for anything fancy, just a simple boil until they're tender, 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then drain well and mash them up. The key here is to get rid of the excess moisture so the casserole doesn't end up soggy. I ended up draining mine several times as I was doing the mash. Next, we're making the base of the casserole: saltine crackers softened with a little milk. This might seem unusual if you've never had squash casserole before, but this is what gives it that rich, thick texture without needing a lot of flour or cream. I happen to have whole wheat saltines, and I went ahead and used those. I think it'll give it a nice, extra rustic taste. Once the crackers are softened, we mix them into the mashed squash, along with 2 beaten eggs, salt, and pepper. The eggs are going to help bind everything together and create that soft, custardy texture. Now we transfer this into a 9x13 dish and sprinkle on some grated cheese. Pansy didn't specify what kind, so I chose a Colby Jack. I think it'll melt well and the smooth flavor will complement the squash. And then we dot the top with margarine. Well, the recipe calls for margarine, but I'm using butter here. Just gonna use my hands to spread it around the top. Then into a 350-degree oven it goes for about 30 minutes, just long enough for it to set and get that beautiful golden top. Pansy may be gone, but her warmth lives on, served 1 dish at a time by those of us still cooking from her pages. All right, let's see how we did. That right there, that's old-fashioned Southern comfort. It's creamy, it's cheesy, it's got a little salty crunch from the crackers. I didn't grow up in the South, but still somehow it tastes like home. Thanks for watching. If you love exploring recipes from cookbooks old and new, hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, what's your favorite family casserole? I'll see you next time on the Random Recipe Project.